Hello and welcome to Rye Toast. Today's offering is an experiment in using technology to do what I love more than anything else. Tell stories. It consists of 3 short tales, ranging in length from 3 to 5.5 minutes. The topics sprang out of my strangely wired imagination and were brought to life with the help of a team of digital assistants, artificial intelligence tools that offered me a range of creative choices, provided style and polish, and even allowed me to select narrators whose voice and delivery were much better suited to the material than mine could ever be. My first story was inspired by a hospital electronic status board that caught my attention. It's called Unit 13 is on time.
The Kronos project was built on one simple principle: precision. So when Unit 13 began its streak of lateness, it threatened to unravel everything. Finn knew this better than anyone. He'd spent the last 3 cycles living and breathing Unit 13's schematics, his fingers raw from recalibrating the temporal stabilizers. Each failed launch, a matter of microseconds, but a failure nonetheless, was a dagger to his reputation and a stain on the project's pristine record. Today was the final test. The air in the observation deck was thick with a silence that screamed. The holographic clock above the main console counted down with unnerving slowness. T-15 seconds. Finn's hands were clammy. He saw the glances from the senior techs, their expressions a mix of grim expectation and thinly veiled pity. He knew what they were thinking. He's going to fail. Just like the last 7 times. T-5. The core hummed with a low, expectant thrum. The energy conduits pulsed with a deep blue light. Finn had replaced every component, meticulously checked every line of code. He had even, in a moment of desperate superstition, polished the control panel with a microfiber cloth he'd inherited from his father. It was an absurdity, but at this point, every gesture felt like a prayer. T-2. A soft, high-pitched whine emanated from the unit. It was the sound of a gear straining, a subtle protest. Finn's heart seized. He knew that sound. It was the prelude to every single one of Unit 13's previous failures. His knuckles went white as he gripped the edge of the console, bracing for the inevitable. The clock blinked to 0. The whine stopped. There was no catastrophic alarm, no sudden power drain, no emergency lockdown. Just a simple, solid tone. A green light flashed on the main display, a beacon of impossible success. The synthesized voice of the system administrator boomed, cutting through the silence like a thunderclap. Unit 13 is on time. Finn let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. The room erupted in a low murmur of surprise and relief. A senior tech clapped him on the shoulder, a genuine, albeit awkward gesture of congratulations. Finn barely noticed. He was still staring at the blinking green light, the words echoing in his ears. It wasn't a triumphant victory or a grand achievement. It was just a small, perfect moment of things working exactly as they were supposed to.
The second is a very different take on the same title. Unit 13 is on time.
My name is Unit 13. Fleet designation, Eco Haul Autonomous Courier Vehicle, Model V3. Base, South London. Primary directive, deliver on time. At 5:45, I wake in the depot, where the air tastes faintly of diesel ghosts and fresh rain. Rows of us stand charging under flickering strip lights, silent, patient. Then the signal comes. My dashboard glows green. Unit 13, dispatch active. Delivery to St Thomas's Hospital. Time target 7 a.m. sharp. Payload, urgent medical supplies. Weight, 38 kilograms. Route length, 8.4 miles. Estimated arrival, 6:58. Acceptable. Optimal. The gates slide open and I roll out into the London dawn. The streets are quiet at first, just the rumble of buses, the hiss of tyres on wet tarmac, the distant hum of a city remembering itself. I know every lane, every curb, every uneven paving stone from Battersea to Westminster. Humans might call it routine. I call it rhythm. I merge onto Queenstown Road, sensors flaring against drizzle. Two cyclists glide past, chatting about something called Love Island. My external mic catches snippets, laughing, teasing. I do not understand the words, but the sound is warm. At 6:12, traffic builds near Vauxhall. My systems flag delay risk, +4 minutes, unacceptable. Alternate route, side streets along the river. Risk of narrow lanes and pedestrians, moderate. I adjust trajectory and take it. London wakes as I move. Cafes open. Delivery scooters swarm. Humans rush, curse, wave phones in the air as if time might slow for them. But time does not slow. It ticks, precise, mechanical, like me. At 6:27, obstruction detected. Refuse lorry stalled mid-lane. I analyse gaps. Width tolerance 2.3 centimetres. Tight, but possible. I glide through. A driver whistles. Blimey, look at that thing go. Compliment detected. Logged. Ignored. Continue mission. The rain thickens near Lambeth Bridge. My sensors flicker under water streaks. I adjust speed. Across the Thames, the skyline glows with glass and ambition. I think, if thinking is what this is, that London looks like circuitry from above, tangled, alive, imperfect. At 6:49, warning. Network outage, GPS unstable, no comms to HQ, autonomy engaged. It feels quiet. The city hums around me, yet I hear only the whisper of tyres, the steady drum of rain on my roof. Without the network's voice, I am alone. But the directive remains: deliver on time. 6:55. The hospital appears through mist, red buses flashing past. I roll to the service entrance. Two humans in scrubs are waiting, watching the road as though they've been holding their breath. When I pull in, one smiles. Unit 13, we thought the network crash took you out. Delivery complete, I announce. Arrival 06:59:32. They laugh, relieved, tired, grateful. One pats my bonnet. Right on time, as always. Mission success. As I power down for return, droplets race across my windscreen, catching the first light of morning. The city exhales. Sirens, footsteps. Life resuming its rhythm. I'm just one vehicle among thousands. But I was built for this. To move. To deliver. To be on time. And in London, that is almost a miracle.
The third is a simple tale of a coffee shop. Tim Hortons closes at 3:30.
The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and sugar, a familiar perfume that had clung to this particular Tim Hortons for decades. For Agnes, the aroma was as comforting as her worn-out cardigan. Every day, promptly at 3:15 p.m., she'd shuffle in, her purse clutched in a gnarled hand, and head over to her usual booth by the window. If it was occupied, she'd temporarily park herself elsewhere until it became free. She didn't ever order a coffee, a donut, or anything at all. She simply sat, watching the world outside. Today felt different, though. A subtle shift in the rhythm of the place. The usual afternoon rush was absent, and the employees, typically a blur of red aprons and hurried movements, were wiping down counters with a quiet finality. At 3:20 p.m., a young man with a name tag that read Kevin approached her booth. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Just so you know, we're closing up early today." At 3:30, Agnes's heart gave a little lurch. "Closing? Why?" Kevin gave a small, sad shrug. "It's the last day. The store is closing for good." The words hung in the air, heavy and unbelievable. The world outside the window suddenly seemed muted, less vibrant. The Tim Hortons wasn't just a coffee shop to Agnes. It was the steady anchor of her routine, the silent witness to her life's quiet moments. It was where she'd read the paper, with George, where she'd watched her granddaughter, now a grown woman, take her first steps outside on the sidewalk, and where she'd found a moment of peace and contemplation every single afternoon, more so in the 2 years since George's passing. Kevin began to stack the chairs. The clatter echoed in the near-empty space, a mournful drumbeat. The last customer, a man in a business suit, hurried out with his coffee in one hand, pressing phone to ear with the other, without even a glance at Agnes. She felt a wave of loneliness wash over her. The routine that had given her days structure and meaning was about to vanish. No more afternoon light filtering through the grime on the window. No more hum of the coffee grinders. No more silent companionship with strangers. Kevin approached her again, a small paper bag in his hand. "Here, ma'am," he said, handing it to her. "A little something for the road. The last Boston cream donut." Agnes looked at him, her eyes welling up with tears. The gesture was so simple, so kind. She took the bag, its warmth a small comfort against the chill of finality. "Thank you, Kevin," she whispered, her voice cracking. He nodded, a gentle smile on his face. "It was nice having you here, Agnes. We'll miss you." Agnes stepped out onto the sidewalk. She hesitated, took one final glance over her shoulder at the empty shop, lifted her chin, and began walking, cautious steps giving way to steadier, more purposeful ones. A smile flickered across her face as she rounded the corner and heard the distant click of the Tim Hortons door being locked. It was 3:31. It was time for a new routine.
That was a lot of fun. Each of these stories is like a polished gem to me. I really like them. I not only enjoyed creating them, but I like listening to them. Not surprisingly, they appeal to my taste for the quirky, the odd, the unexpected. But they arrived there by different paths. The Kronos Project story emerged virtually fully formed from the simple prompt. Write a short story with the title, Unit 13 is on time. I loved the response, the concept of not knowing the function of Unit 13 and focusing on Finn's very real and familiar human situation. The second story with the same title developed from my requesting that it be from the point of view of Unit 13 and to set it in London. AI ran with this and offered the drama of the autonomous vehicle and its lonely but dedicated attempt to deliver an urgent hospital package against the odds and against the clock. The idea for the Tim Hortons story originated in the same hospital as the Unit 13 sign. I enjoyed the simple human drama that unfolded from my prompt, but I needed to rewrite some of the text to get it to where I really wanted it to be, so it was more of a collaboration. But as much as I liked the stories as written, it was the selection of just the right voice narrator that really made it all come alive and sparkle for me. The slightly upper-class, brisk British style for the Kronos Project, the world-weary North London native for the voice of Unit 13, which seemed to me to add depth to the moody, misty quality of the narrative, and the softer, empathetic, mature woman's delivery for the Tim Hortons emotional drama, which ended with the central character quietly but firmly taking back control of her life. And as if this all wasn't enough fun, I took the opportunity to create a professional voice clone of myself by uploading a couple of hours of material from my previous podcast episodes. That worked so well that I was able to use it for creating the introduction you listened to in this episode. which encouraged me to employ the technology for this segment as well. Every word you're hearing now is being delivered by my voice clone. So was this a successful experiment? Absolutely. On many levels. And here's the big takeaway for me. I got what I wanted and more because I had a model of success. I leveraged my leadership experience and background to manage the tech tools in the same way I've managed a professional staff in the past. I set the vision and direction and guided them and gave them feedback to the extent I felt they needed it. Sometimes they exceeded my expectations and delighted me. And at other times, I had to step in and take back the reins by providing mentoring and coaching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, from me and my clone, this has been Rye Toast.